People often feel lost when hardship enters their lives. When doors close, plans collapse, and prayers seem unanswered, the heart begins to ask a dangerous question. Is this from Allah or is this from Satan? This question does not come from nowhere. It is born in moments of confusion, exhaustion, and pain. And if it is not answered correctly, it can pull a person either toward wisdom or toward despair. Not every hardship is a punishment, and not every ease is a blessing. This is where many hearts become confused, because Satan does not always appear as evil. Sometimes he appears as logic, sometimes as self-pity, sometimes as a voice that says, "This is unfair." Allah tests, but he never misleads. Satan misleads, but he never tests for growth. The difference between the two is subtle, and only a conscious heart can recognize it. Allah's tests are meant to build the soul. Satan's traps are designed to empty it. When Allah tests a servant, he draws that servant closer to himself, even if it hurts. When Satan traps a person, he pushes them away from Allah, often while making it feel justified. One of Satan's greatest successes is convincing people that every hardship is a sign of abandonment. He whispers, "If Allah cared about you, you wouldn't be suffering like this. And if the heart listens, distance begins." But Allah's way has never been comfort without purpose. Even the prophets were tested. Even the most beloved servants were shaken, not to destroy them, but to raise them. A test from Allah awakens the heart. A trap from Satan numbs it. In an Allah-given test, the heart may ache, but it remains alive. In a satanic trap, the heart slowly loses sensitivity. Prayer feels heavy. Repentance is delayed. And excuses begin to sound reasonable. Satan never pushes all at once. He works gradually. He starts with doubt, then justification, then normalization. One delay becomes habit. One excuse becomes character. Allah, on the other hand, interrupts. He stops a person. He creates pauses, closed doors, moments of reflection. What feels like loss may actually be protection. What feels like delay may be mercy. Many people mistake Satan's trap for Allah's test because both involve difficulty. But the direction is different. Allah's test pulls you inward, toward reflection, humility, and prayer. Satan's trap pulls you outward, toward anger, blame, and escape. Allah's test asks, "What can you learn from this?" Satan's trap says, "You don't deserve this." Allah's test strengthens reliance. Satan's trap weakens trust. If a hardship pushes you to pray more sincerely, it is not a trap. If it pushes you away from Allah, something is wrong. This is why awareness is everything. Not every pain is a sign of rejection. Sometimes pain is proof that Allah is still shaping you. The heart must learn to ask the right question, not "Why me?" but "Where is this taking me?" Because Allah never tests a servant to lose them, and Satan never tempts a servant to save them. The difference lies in the result. Does this hardship bring you closer to Allah, or quietly pull you away? A divine test and a satanic trap may look similar from the outside, but they are never the same on the inside. The outside shows pressure, loss, delay, or pain. The inside reveals direction, and direction is everything. When Allah tests a servant, He never removes meaning. Even in confusion, there is a quiet pull toward reflection. The heart begins to question itself, not Allah. What is being corrected? What is being taught? This inner questioning is a sign of divine attention. Allah does not test to humiliate, He tests to refine. Satan, however, works in the opposite direction. He does not want reflection, he wants reaction. He wants anger before thought, blame before humility, escape before patience. His trap does not ask you to grow, it asks you to justify. One of the clearest differences lies in what happens to prayer. Under Allah's test, prayer may feel heavy, but it becomes necessary. The servant still turns back, even if tired, even if confused. Under Satan's trap, prayer feels unnecessary. What's the point? Begins to sound reasonable. Delay replaces devotion, and delay, repeated often enough, becomes distance. Allah's tests slow a person down. Life pauses, doors close, plans collapse. At first this feels like loss, but slowing down creates space to see, to notice patterns, to realize attachments. Satan hates pauses. He wants constant motion, noise, distraction, anything that keeps the heart from becoming still, because stillness exposes truth. In a divine test, humility increases. The servant becomes aware of weakness. Dependence on Allah grows. Pride softens. In a satanic trap, ego strengthens. The servant feels wronged. "I don't deserve this," becomes a frequent thought. Victimhood replaces responsibility, and responsibility is the enemy of Satan. Another difference appears in how sin is treated. During Allah's test, sin feels heavier. Even small mistakes disturb the heart. This disturbance is not punishment, it is protection. Allah does not allow His beloved servants to become comfortable with disobedience. Satan's trap does the opposite. It normalizes sin. Everyone does it. You need this to cope. What once felt wrong begins to feel reasonable. Satan often disguises his trap as self-care. He whispers, "You've suffered enough." you owe yourself relief. In these moments, wrongdoing is presented as healing. But real healing never pulls the heart away from Allah. Relief that costs closeness is not mercy. Allah's test strengthens inner discipline. The servant becomes more careful with words, choices, and reactions. Satan's trap weakens boundaries. Lines blur. What was once avoided becomes tolerated. What was tolerated becomes embraced. A divine test deepens awareness of time. The servant begins to value moments, to feel the weight of wasted days, to seek purpose. A satanic trap numbs time. Hours disappear, days blur. Life becomes consumption, not intention. Notice also where the hardship leads emotionally. Allah's test may bring sadness, but it does not bring despair. There is still a quiet sense that this is not meaningless. Satan's trap leads to hopelessness. Nothing will change. It doesn't matter anymore. Despair is Satan's signature. Allah never leads a heart there. Allah's test invites patience, not passive waiting, but conscious endurance. Satan's trap breeds impatience. Why is this taking so long? Why should I keep trying? Impatience pushes people to shortcuts. Shortcuts often lead to regret. Another sign appears in relationships. Under Allah's test, certain connections may fade, but meaningful ones deepen. Under Satan's trap, isolation grows. The servant withdraws, not for reflection, but for escape. Walls go up, vulnerability disappears. Allah's tests align a person with truth, even when truth is uncomfortable. Satan's traps align a person with comfort, even when comfort is false. Truth may hurt, but it heals. False comfort numbs, then destroys. Satan also uses comparison as a powerful weapon. Look at others. They're doing worse things and living better lives. This comparison poisons trust in divine justice. Allah's test teaches the servant to look inward, not sideways. Comparison steals gratitude. Gratitude builds resilience. Allah's test creates clarity over time. What was once confusing slowly makes sense. Satan's trap creates fog. Confusion deepens. Nothing feels solid. This fog keeps the servant from making firm decisions. Pay attention to what grows during hardship. If sincerity grows, it is a test. If bitterness grows, be careful. If awareness grows, it is guidance. If excuses grow, it may be deception. Allah tests to purify intention. Motives become simpler. Actions become quieter. Recognition becomes less important. Satan traps by inflating the need to be seen, heard, validated. The hardest part is that Satan rarely lies completely. He mixes truth with distortion. He says, Allah is just, but hides Allah is merciful. He says, actions have consequences, but hides repentance changes outcomes. Half-truths are more dangerous than lies. Allah's tests always preserve the door of return. No matter how intense, the servant can still turn back. Satan's trap convinces the servant that the door is closed. You've gone too far. This thought alone is enough to deepen the fall. The real question is not how heavy the hardship is. The real question is what it is doing to your heart. Is it softening you or hardening you? Is it bringing you closer or quietly pulling you away? Because Allah's tests may break comfort, but they never break faith. And Satan's traps may feel justified, but they always weaken connection. There comes a moment when a person must stop asking what is happening and start asking what direction it is leading them toward. Because hardship itself is not the real danger. Losing direction is. Allah never tests a servant to abandon them, and Satan never tempts a servant to save them. This truth alone changes everything. When Allah tests, He may remove comfort, but He never removes guidance. The heart may feel strained, but it is never left without signs. There is always a pull toward reflection, a call to patience, a quiet invitation to return. Allah's test may shake the ground beneath your feet, but it never cuts the rope between you and Him. Satan's trap works differently. It slowly convinces the heart that the rope is already gone, that turning back is pointless, that effort no longer matters. And once the heart accepts this lie, the fall accelerates. One of the clearest ways to distinguish between the two is to observe what happens after the pain settles. If, after hardship, your heart becomes more aware, more careful, more humble, you are being shaped, not punished.
If, after hardship, your heart becomes resentful, careless, and distant, something else is at work. Allah's test leads to clarity, even if it comes late. Satan's trap leads to confusion that deepens over time. Allah's test strengthens the bond with Him, even if the servant feels weak. Satan's trap weakens the bond, even if the servant feels justified. Allah's test invites surrender. Satan's trap promotes control. Another important sign lies in how you view yourself. Under Allah's test, a servant recognizes weakness without self-hatred. There is humility, not worthlessness. Under Satan's trap, the servant either despises themselves or inflates their ego. Both extremes disconnect the heart from balance. Allah's test teaches reliance. Satan's trap teaches self-dependence or complete despair. Allah's test leaves room for hope. Satan's trap suffocates it. This is why awareness is an act of worship. To pause, reflect, and ask, where is my heart being pulled, is itself a form of obedience. Because Satan thrives on mindlessness. Allah calls for consciousness. If a hardship makes you pray differently, more honestly, more desperately, it is not a trap. If a hardship makes prayer feel irrelevant, something is wrong. If pain softens your heart, it is shaping you. If pain hardens your heart, examine the voices you are listening to. Allah's tests never demand that you abandon your values. Satan's traps often disguise compromise as survival. Allah may close doors, but He never blocks the path back to Him. Satan never closes doors. He simply leads you away from the right ones. The greatest protection is not strength, it is humility. The greatest danger is not weakness, it is arrogance disguised as logic. And the greatest mistake is assuming that ease means approval and hardship means rejection. History, revelation, and the lives of the righteous all testify otherwise. So when hardship arrives, do not rush to label it. Do not assume. Do not despair. Instead, look inward. Ask what is growing within you. Ask what is fading. Ask where your heart is turning, because Allah's test will always guide you back to Him, and Satan's trap will always guide you away. May Allah grant us hearts that recognize His wisdom in difficulty and eyes that see deception even when it is subtle. May He protect us from confusing trials with traps and ease with approval. And may He keep our hearts firm, aware, and connected in hardship and in ease.